Martin Cahill was born on May 23rd of 1949 in a slum district of inner-city Dublin. He grew up in an impoverished household as one of 12 children. When Martin was barely a teenager, the Cahill family was moved from their home in the tenements as part of the Dublin slum clearances. They would be resettled in Crumlin on the south side of the city. Welcome back to Crime Chronicles. Today we look at a man whose life spanned a time when Dublin was evolving from a heavily industrialised city, notable for its slums, into the centre of the Celtic Tiger economic boom. He was a complex man, proud and protective of the city he knew as a child, but also sought to exploit the city and its residents for his own gain. Stay tuned as we look at the life, crimes, and death of Martin the General Cahill. The displacement of his family during the slum clearances deeply impacted Martin, solidifying a sense of distrust and hostility toward authority figures that would shape his life. Cahill's criminal career began early. By his mid-teens, he was committing petty thefts and burglaries. Alongside his brothers and other local youths, he quickly developed a reputation for being both daring and resourceful. Martin would first come to the attention of the authorities at age 16, when he was convicted of 2 burglaries and sentenced to a stint at an industrial school run by a Catholic order. Despite limited formal education, Cahill displayed an intuitive understanding of logistics and strategy, skills he would later use to mastermind some of Ireland's most audacious crimes. Getting caught hadn't dimmed his passion for crime, and he would continue to commit burglaries in affluent Dublin neighbourhoods. In one brazen crime, the brothers would rob the local police depot of confiscated firearms. Cahill's criminal activities escalated into the early 1970s and expanded to include armed robbery. By this time, he had formed a tightly knit gang primarily composed of family members and trusted associates. And it wasn't long before the police would identify the Cahills as major criminals. Unlike many criminals of the era, Cahill's operations were meticulously planned. He adopted an almost militaristic approach to crime, emphasizing discipline and loyalty within his group. One of his notable early heists occurred in 1983, when Cahill orchestrated a break-in at O'Connor's Jewellers in Harold's Cross. The gang used a tunnel they dug over several weeks to access the store's safe, stealing a significant quantity of jewels, valued at over £2 million. The robbery was so catastrophic to the jewellers that they were forced to close with the loss of more than 100 jobs. The heist not only brought Cahill wealth, but also cemented his reputation as a criminal mastermind. Cahill became known for his ability to think outside the box and his knack for exploiting weaknesses in security systems. Over time, his operations grew bolder, culminating in a series of high-profile robberies that garnered significant media attention. Another of Cahill's most famous crimes was the 1986 theft of art from Rusborough House in County Wicklow. The mansion housed a valuable collection of paintings, including works by Johann Vermeer, Francisco de Goya, and Peter Paul Rubens. Cahill's gang meticulously planned the heist, overcoming sophisticated security measures to steal 18 paintings valued at over £30 million. The stolen paintings were smuggled abroad, and Cahill attempted to use them as collateral in various illicit deals. However, the theft caused an international outcry, and law enforcement agencies across Europe were mobilized to recover the art. Several pieces were eventually recovered, though some remain missing to this day. The Rusborough heist showcased Cahill's audacity and intelligence. It also demonstrated his willingness to target high-profile institutions, further enhancing his notoriety. In another significant heist, Cahill's gang intercepted a security van transporting gold bullion worth £2 million. The robbery involved an elaborate plan that included fake roadblocks, stolen vehicles, and careful surveillance. The gang managed to escape with the gold, though the proceeds of the crime led to infighting among Cahill's associates, ultimately weakening the group's cohesion. Cahill cultivated a public image that made him a folk hero in certain circles. Despite his ruthless methods, he was seen by some as a Robin Hood figure who outsmarted corrupt authorities and corporate interests. But in reality, he was a ruthless and violent criminal. One crime highlights his ruthless nature. Fearing the increasing role that forensic science could play in detecting his robberies, in May of 1982, Cahill had a bomb placed under the car of Chief Forensic Scientist James O'Donovan, partly disabling him. Cahill's eccentricity and refusal to be intimidated by the IRA also added to his mystique. He famously avoided being photographed, often covering his face with his hand or a mask when cameras were present. His elusiveness frustrated law enforcement, earning him the nickname the General, a reference to his strategic thinking and command over his gang. Cahill's criminal empire inevitably brought him into conflict with other powerful entities, including the IRA and the Irish police. His refusal to cooperate with the IRA led to multiple assassination attempts, all of which he narrowly survived. These tensions highlighted the precarious nature of Cahill's position in the underworld. The police also intensified their efforts to bring Cahill to justice. Despite their best efforts, he remained elusive for years. Cahill's ability to evade prosecution was largely due to his meticulous planning and a strict code of silence among his gang members. Cahill's downfall began in the late 80s, as law enforcement ramped up their efforts to dismantle his operations, even assigning a specific surveillance team to monitor Cahill and his gang 24/7. This special surveillance unit was nicknamed Tango Squad, and it set up shop in a house that backed onto Cahill's property. Advances in surveillance technology and increasing pressure on his associates eventually led to several arrests within his gang. Additionally, Cahill's confrontations with the IRA escalated, further isolating him. On August 18th of 1994, Martin Cahill left a residence he had been using at Swan Grove and began the drive to the local shop. Once he stopped at the junction of Oxford Road and Charleston Road, a gunman opened fire, shooting him multiple times in the head and upper body with a .357 Magnum. He would die almost immediately, while the gunman was seen jumping on a motorbike and fleeing the scene. The motive for the killing remains a subject of debate. Within hours of the killing, the IRA had claimed the assassination as their work, initially blaming Martin's involvement with the UVF and their attempted bombing of a Sinn Féin meeting earlier in 1994. Further theories would emerge about why the general was killed, most of them still pointing the finger squarely at the IRA, and including reasons as diverse as Cahill providing stolen art to help fund the UVF, and protection rackets for drug smugglers. What we do know is that his killer, or killers, have never been identified or brought to justice. Cahill's story has been immortalized in popular culture, most notably in John Borman's 1998 film The General, which starred Brendan Gleeson as Cahill. The movie portrayed him as a complex and multifaceted character, blending charm and brutality, and it even included a scene in which Cahill robbed the home of the film's director John Borman, an incident that had actually happened. Martin Cahill's life and crimes left an indelible mark on Ireland's history. To some, he was a symbol of defiance against authority, a man who outwitted the system. To others, he was a dangerous and ruthless criminal who exploited his intelligence for personal gain. Thank you for joining us today on Crime Chronicles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends.